All right, awesome. Is everyone able to see my screen okay?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, let's get on right ahead. So this is gonna be the SET reading and writing. So one thing that I really want everyone to focus on is there are different types of questions that you'll typically see on the SAT reading. So a golden rule really that I like to hone on whenever I am with my students is to really look at the question stem and figure out how to solve each question. So in this presentation, I'm really just going to go over, different types of questions that you'll see in the reading section and uh, various strategies to tackle each one. So with the first type, we got a question that goes along the lines of what choice completes a text with the most logical and precise word or phrase? So with these types of questions, I like to basically reword these as logical word choice questions, and I'll go into some example problems to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, the SAT, they really want you to read the passage and fill in the blank of the best word that you think will fit. All right. And with questions like these, students they tend to, go straight to the answer choices. But with these questions here, it's really, really key to make the prediction first, then go into the answer choices. All right. So we'll start off with this first example here. And feel free to chime in or go in the chat. So we'll just try to practice on exactly what this prediction, how to work on making our prediction. So throughout his time at university, the student began to feel increasingly blank towards his studies. So yeah, someone asked, yeah, if this presentation will be shared, and yes, I will be sharing this presentation. Uh, yes. All right, cool. And so what is the so can we make a solid prediction just by looking at this first sentence here? And feel free to chime in the chat or speak out loud. So yeah, I'll just wait a couple minutes to see if you know basically are we able to make a prediction for like a word just based off looking at the sentence here. We could just say yes, no in the chat, or thumbs up, thumbs down, anything really. Just want to see a couple reactions. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so yeah, we're not really able to make a solid prediction yet, because well, we still have more information. We don't know if the student, is feeling either bad or good. We don't know yet. We need more information. That's why it's really important to seek information in the passage, whether that be transition words or any clue words, and I will go into that. So with the prediction here, we really want to focus on saying, okay, what transition words do we have? All right. And the reason it's important to look for transition words is that this is important to show us the flow of ideas that are being expressed in the passage. So words like while, that's highlighted here, that is gonna introduce contrasting ideas later on. Okay. And then there's also a variety of other transition words here that I also want you to pay attention to. So, they're grouped up into categories such as, examples. So, for example, specifically, for instance, you have continuations, contrasting transition words, summarizing. So, I don't expect you to memorize all the transition words, but it's really key just to understand, okay, I have a transition word here, let's just say, for example, that means that we're going to be seeing an example of an idea that was expressed earlier. All right. And yeah, just feel free to like stop me anytime if you have any questions with these strategies. So let's try to make that prediction now. here. So with um uh this passage here that we're talking about, so throughout his time at university, the student began to feel increasingly blank towards his studies. While he enjoyed the material, he couldn't help but feel uncertain about if his current major was right for him. All right. So we basically have the rest of the passage now. We even have this transition word that we talked about earlier with while. Um, is there anything in the passage, and feel free to take some time here, see if there are any key words here, any clue words that you guys see here that can lead you to the prediction. Any clue words here that you guys see? Feel free to chime in, speak up or put in the chat. Yes, uncertain. Awesome. So we got uncertain. We even got while here. So with the while as our transition word, um, uh, well, this is a contrasting transition. And what exactly are we contrasting? Well, we're contrasting the student's, feeling of enjoyment with his feeling of uncertainty. All right. And uncertainty, well, that really ties in with possibly this prediction word that we're thinking of. So, whenever I try to talk to students, about a possible prediction for this passage, uncertain is definitely one of those key words that we could look into. Or, unsure. So that's also another like good prediction word. So anything along the lines of uncertain, unsure, that'll be really, really good here. So that leads us to the question now. So throughout his time at university, the student began to feel increasingly unsure. So that's our prediction. Awesome. While he enjoyed the material, he couldn't help but feel uncertain about if his current major was right for him. Okay, awesome. So we have our prediction word. Now we go through each answer choice one by one and see, okay, does this go along with my prediction? And I think with students, they tend to go straight to the answer choice and we become confused. Now that we have our prediction in our head, it's a lot easier for us, okay, to identify which one is the right answer, okay? And I'll just, go one by one here, just to provide an example of, kind of like my thought process. So with A, ambitious, our initial prediction was unsure, so or uncertain. So that doesn't really tie in with our initial prediction. So we could take out A. B, optimistic. It's kind of the opposite of what we were talking about with unsure, uncertain. So we could definitely take out B. All right. And then C, ambivalent. A lot of students, especially, those in like 11th, 12th grade that are taking this exam, they don't know what ambivalent means. Okay. And that kind of like segues into the strategies here of, okay, what if I don't know what a word means? Okay. And the College Board, the SAT, they love to put in words that students just don't know. I mean, it's not like we're a walking dictionary. We're oftentimes going to see words that we just don't see. So instead of freaking out, let's have this strategies here. And I like to. I know it says 3 steps here, but I got 4, and I'll tell you what the fourth one is after I talk about these 3. So with the first step here is, can we determine the meaning based off the context? In other words, have you heard the word before being used in conversations? So like an ambivalent, um, uh, for me, I've heard the word before. Um, Personally, like, I've probably heard it used in like, really like a neutral setting, um, really whenever they're like trying to question something or when they're confused, possibly. So that's what that's when I hear ambivalent. And you guys could also feel free to chime in the chat. Have you guys ever heard ambivalent? Um, what was the connotation behind it? Was it negative? Was it positive? Was it neutral? Feel free to chime in the chat, and you could also put in a reaction to that's pretty similar to what you think ambivalent goes along with. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, so yeah, that is exactly the definition of yes, ambivalent. Um, So yeah, we're basically like uncertain, unsure, with ambivalent. So that's really good. That really basically ties in with our prediction word. And D, petrified. That just means scared. Okay. Some students also don't know this word as well. So we could still like continue with the strategies that we're talking about. So have you heard the word? Are there any root words that we can recognize? So root words. So here's some a couple of examples here with the root words. So we have apolitical. So whenever I have a word that starts off with a in the word, like I'll just say apolitical, what does that typically mean? Like with apolitical. If I were to start off a word with a, what would that typically mean? Yeah, feel free to, put in the chat or speak up. Whenever I have a in front of a word, what does that typically mean? Exactly. Yeah, so not, right? I know students, they oftentimes tell me, or, the opposite, and that's also true. So apolitical, not political, apathetic, not empathetic, agnostic, not believing. So this is a really, really good strategy to implement, if you don't know what a word means. So, with ambivalent, we don't really have a solid root word here to use, so we can't really use that strategy. Same thing with petrified as well. Um, but another strategy that I really like to use, and this kind of ties in with the first strategy, is does this seem to be a positive continuing word or a negative contrasting word? Basically saying, what are the vibes of the word? That's what I like to ask students. So with C here, let's just say you didn't know what C meant. Okay. What are the vibes that you're getting with this word? If you did not know what the word means, just sounding out loud, reading it, are we getting a neutral vibe, negative vibe, positive vibe? What are we thinking here with ambivalent? Yeah, I'll just like wait to see if there are any comments here or any reactions as well. Feel free to also speak up. All right. Yeah, so with ambivalent, you're definitely getting like a lot of I really just get neutral vibes. So really just neutral vibes really. I'm not really getting a lot of negative or positive vibes. So yeah, with C that strategy won't really help, but with D for sure. Let's just say I didn't know what petrified means. I didn't know any root words, right? If we go to strategy 2 here and also strategy 3, um, strategy 3, well, okay, what if I were to now switch over to petrified? What type of vibes are you getting with that word? Is that more negative? Is that positive? Is that neutral as well? What are we thinking with petrified? If I were to go to answer choice D, we're thinking more negative here, possibly. Let's see some. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm definitely thinking more negative. It's not really tying in with the unsure, uncertain. So in that case, I would definitely knock out D in this case. And let's just say if you already know what petrify means, awesome. That would have just left us with the answer choice C and build in. All right. So these are really good strategies here. These three steps. Another strategy that I was mentioning, since I said there were four, is just rolling out all our knowns. So we're gonna go back to this question here. Uh, if you knew what ambitious meant, if you knew what optimistic meant, also petrified, so A, B, and D, we could basically say, hey, I know all these answer choices are wrong. I know for a fact these cannot be the answers. Most likely, it's the one that I'm iffy on, answer choice C. So then you'll just be left with that as the correct answer. And usually, also, that is also a really, really good strategy to implement. Yes. All right. I believe there's a question. Did someone have a question? Let's see. All right. All right, cool. If there's no questions, then yeah, we'll pretty much go right on ahead to this next example here. All right. So I want you guys to try this one yourself. Try to implement the strategies that we discussed earlier, and yeah, let me know what you guys think the answer choice is in the chat, and also feel free to speak up. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I'm seeing a couple B's in the chat. So yeah. So the people that chose B, are there any clue words that you guys see here, or any like transition words that you guys saw that led you to your prediction? And also, feel free to also put into the chat what was your prediction word as well. So I want to see what was your prediction word, and also what were the clue words that you saw in the passage that led you to answer choice B? Yes, yes, I will definitely share the slides as well. Yeah, always been there for me. Yeah, that's also good. Um, yeah, so that's awesome. I know like another one is through thick and thin. That's also a really good one for like a clue word. So yeah, all right. Yeah, constant. Yeah, constant is also a really good one. Constant, continuous. These all would have been really good prediction words here. So that's the first question type. These logical word choice questions. That's how I want students to tackle these questions. Um, and initially, it'll be a little bit difficult to implement, but over time with practice, it's going to become muscle memory. And the students that I have tutored that have gotten really high scores, they said that this strategy really, really has helped them into overcoming these question types. All right. Any other questions? With this question type, because I'll be moving on over to the next question type that we'll typically see in the SET reading. And you guys could just put like a thumbs up if you guys are like good to go to the next question type. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, okay, great. All right, so it looks like everyone's ready to go to the next question type. But yeah, also feel free, to put some questions in the chat. Um, all right, so question type 2 here, and these are I like to call the main idea or function questions. All right. And I'll go over a couple examples here. But these typically take a little bit more time compared to your logical word choice questions. And this is because, well, first of all, you have to read the whole passage. And also, you have to basically come up with an idea of what you think the main idea is, and also the function of the sentence. Okay. Um, so with these types of questions here, I really encourage students to do active reading, because it won't make any sense if we attempt the question, we don't understand the question, and then we try to choose an answer choice and we don't even understand why it's right, right? So that's why I encourage students to do active reading. Now, what is active reading? Active reading is, having these questions in mind while you're reading, and that is, why did the author write this? What's the main point? How does the passage flow? And how are the different parts of the paragraph connected? Basically, the flow of ideas. Okay. So that's basically active reading. Okay. And also with active reading, and this is definitely a skill that, will definitely take some time to get used to. Um, is I really like students to basically, do visualization. Now, visualization, aka, making a picture in your head while you're reading the passage. All right. So you should have some sort of, picture going on while you're reading the passage, especially for the very complex passages. For those that have, seen some of these logical word choice and main logical completion, also these function main idea questions. It's really good to have a picture in your head. That way you have a solid idea of what the main idea is. So let's try to practice this visualization skill. So let's go over this example. So she waded through snowdrifts and been drenched in pouring rains. So feel free to put in the chat, what are you guys thinking? what was that picture going on in your head as I was reading through this? So you waded through snowdrifts and been drenched in pouring rains. So yeah, feel free, just put a few words in the chat what you were thinking. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's personally just a picture that's going on in your head. Let me see what you guys say. Mhm. Yeah, and I'll just wait a couple seconds and then I'll just pretty much go to my thoughts here. So let's just see what you guys think here for the visualization. What was that picture that was in your head as I was going through that example? Yeah. So, she waded through snowdrifts, like yeah, definitely winter. Um, it's also rain too. Is she really having the best time? Yeah, not really. Yeah, but let me show you guys this. If I were to change one of these words to waded to frolicked, she frolicked through snowdrifts and been drenched in pouring rains. Now, what do you guys think? Does that completely change the idea of the passage? Yeah, exactly. She's enjoying it now. So you see, just the power of just changing one word in the passage, that can drastically just change the meaning of the passage. So that's why I really say visualization is really key here when it comes to some of these complex passages. Um, yeah. So one thing that I really wanted to go over is basically inference making skills. The SAT College Board, they really like to test students' skills on making a logical inference. Okay. Now, and I'll go over an example. Well, what exactly is an inference? Well, an inference, if you want to go to the technical definition, is deriving a conclusion from the facts or assumptions that you're given. And that's usually just from the passage or the data that you're given. All right, cool. So let's go over an example here. So all fruits are sweet, so a banana is a fruit. So, this is a logical inference. I if I know that all fruits are sweet, I've tried a banana before, I know that a banana has to be a fruit. So that's a logical inference. Let me go to this next example here and kind of test the waters here and show you what the SAT will try to give you here. So the baby was asleep in his bed. Suddenly, I heard a loud thump and he began crying hysterically. So, can we make an inference, on the parenting behavior or just the parenting of the baby? You know, we see that it's asleep and they began crying. So can we make any inference, on the parenting behavior of the baby based off of what we're given? And I'll, you guys could like either put like a thumbs up, thumbs down, and just go in the chat. Yeah, yeah. So maybe the baby fell down. We're not necessarily given, facts that okay, here's how the parents behave. All right, we don't know that. We really want to be able to make a logical inference based off of what we're given. Okay. Well, what are the facts in this passage? Well, the baby was asleep. Baby, there was a loud thump, and the baby began to crying hysterically. So basically, the baby was awake, right? So we can make an inference saying like, hey, yes, for sure, yes, the baby was awake, but we cannot say for certain about the baby's parenting behavior. We don't know what the baby's parents did. Um, we could maybe say they fell down, but that's not we can't say that for certain. Okay. So really just trying to make a logical inference based off the facts that you're given. All right. Now, also a lot of students they typically ask me, okay, well, how do I avoid choosing the wrong answer? I mean, of course, we know we want to make as close to a 1600 as possible on the digital SAT. But how do we mitigate, us choosing the wrong answer? Well, first is making that prediction, and that's what I was trying to go on earlier with the logical word choice questions. Um, so try to make that initial prediction, and then go to each of the answer choices and see if that aligns with your initial prediction. All right. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is critical statements, and I'll go into a little bit later in the next slide here what critical statements are. All right. And one strategy that I really like for students to do, and this also comes with time here, as you do more prep with the SAT, is to really envision, okay, the answer I chose, if that was the right answer, does this fit in the passage? Okay, and if you see that it does not fit in the passage, then most likely that's not the right answer. Okay, so essentially, does my answer choice fit? Okay. Okay. At the end of the day, right, I want you to be able to determine, okay, the answer I chose, why is it right? And I want you to be able to prove the other three choices why they are wrong. Okay. That's the ultimate goal at the end of the day with the SAT prep. All right. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, what exactly are critical statements? Now, here are what critical statements are. All right. So it must be true, the answer choice, it must be true and stated literally and specifically. All right. So let's just go over a quick example here. So let's just say we have a function question of an underlying sentence. All right. And we have this answer choice. A, to contrast the narrator's earlier feeling of distrust with their current optimism. So if this answer choice was true, okay, what must be presented earlier on, okay, in this sentence here? What do we need to see based off of that answer choice if it is going to be correct? And yes, feel free to put your answers in the chat and let me know what you think. And also, like, feel free if you have any questions over like any of the strategies that I've been over so far as well. Okay, so yeah, so with this answer choice, in order for it to be true, okay, we need to first see, okay, well, is there an earlier feeling of this distrust that we see? Okay. And do we see this current optimism later on? Right. In order for that answer choice to be correct, we need to see those two elements. If we do not see those elements, then that means that answer choice must not be right. Okay. Does that make sense? I want to like see like some like thumbs up here if that made sense. What I just mentioned with the critical statements. All right, cool. Yeah, and if you have any questions, yeah, please feel free to yeah, go on the chat or speak up. All right. So yeah, so that's critical statements. And another thing I want you guys to look out for, as you're going through the SAT reading, is looking out for extreme answer choices. So like answer choices that have all or none, unless it stays specifically in the passage and backed up by the facts, then we can't make that conclusion. So that's another thing to look out for. All right. Um, Yeah, so does that make sense? I'm going to be moving over to the next question type. So does that make sense with the main idea, function type questions? All right, cool. Yeah, just put some thumbs up in the chat and then that'll let me know that we can go on to the next question type. All right, cool. Yeah, so let's move on. So the next question type, as you see here on the screen, is basically questions with graphs and tables. I really like the digital SAT in that, they took out the long passages from, if you have ever seen the older SAT, really you just have these small paragraphs and a question that comes along with it. All right. So that's really, that's really nice. And also what the SAT is also trying to implement more is more of these graphs, tables questions. All right. So with these graphs, tables questions, um, what I want you to do is basically try to take an initial glance at the graph or table. See if you see any trends. Okay. Then go to the question, see what's asking. Most of the time, it's going to ask something along these lines. Which choice most effectively uses, the data from the table to weaken the researcher's claim or to support the claim? Anything along those lines. 90 to 95% of the time, that's what the question will be asking. Okay. And then I want you to go into the passage where it basically states the finding and conclusion and see, okay, what exactly are are the researchers, findings, or what are their conclusion? That'll help you answer the question. And once you get to the answer choice, okay, I want you to make sure that, just being right on the graph is not enough. Okay. Basically, I want you to choose an answer choice that is one, backed up by the data, and two, answers the question. Okay. So it's a two-step process here. With easier question types, with the graphs and tables, you will often see, maybe two or three of the answer choices that will not be backed up by data. That'll make our lives a lot easier, okay? Because then the only one that's backed up by the data, that has to be the right answer. But the SAT, the College Board, they're not going to make it that easy. They're usually going to have at least two or three that are backed up by the data, and you have to take the extra step to see, okay, which one answers the question, okay? Does that make sense? The strategies to go about with graphs or tables, the research questions. All right. Yeah, just make sure to put some thumbs up in the chat and also speak up, and we could just start moving on to the next question type. All right. Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, these are the writing type questions now that I'll be going a little bit over now. I do want to bring this up to your attention here. One second. One second. I'll try to pull up the. All right. So yes, let me pull up the link here for the grammar rules. Okay, and I'll post it in the chat. This is a really good website here to go over the grammar rules. All right. Okay, awesome. So we got that. Um, okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, so feel free to take a look into that that website here, and I'll share my screen as well. Let's see. So are you guys able to see my screen here with the question types? Yeah, so let me have this pulled up on split screen here. All right. So these are basically the question types you will often see here on the SAT writing. All right. So we have these grammar rules, and feel free to go over these question types as well, uh, and the grammar rules. And this is a really, really good website that I like to share to all my students. So we got the periods, semicolons, colons, and dashes. There's a lot of grammar rules here, so this is really just up to you to study on your own time, and then we could go over that in a later time in like another session. All right. Okay, cool. Awesome. So any other questions so far that we have about the reading, writing, or grammar rules? Anything so far? And yeah, just feel free to like put some Uh, Feel free to put some thumbs up in the chat if you're all good so far. All right, awesome. All right, one sec. I need to move real quick, and then I'll be back. Just put some thumbs up in the chat, and I'll let you know the next question type.
Maybe he hasn't turned it on.
No, he's talking, but
I'm muted. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So I really want you guys to look over that those grammar rules there, and that's a really good website to incorporate all those grammar rules. Okay. For the SAT. All right. So let me go back to my previous slideshow. All right. All right. So usually with these grammar types here, um,
Oh, who's this?
yeah, these grammar type questions, you usually see that they say something along the lines of which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the convention of standard English. All right. This is really just another way of just saying, hey, what is the grammar that what type of grammar rule are we going to be implementing here? All right. And this is, by the way, I didn't mention this, but the Critical Reader website that I shared, this is a really awesome website made by, Erica Meltzer. It's not my website, but, an SAT, ACT expert that, I really like using and I've shared to all my students, and it does a really good job summarizing all the rules. So, feel free to, use the link in the chat here that I shared. So that's a really good website. All right. Awesome. Yeah, so some of these are just like, going more on like the verb tense, subject verb agreement. So I don't want to go into the specifics here, but really if we see like an answer choice that, if you see the first set of answer choices, we see that has walked, have walked, walked, walking. So we see that we pretty much have all like the same tenses, um, or actually, yeah, like the same tenses of the verb here. Uh, it's just that really this needs to see, okay, well, what is the subject here, right? So, and then we see also here, has walked, had walked, walked, walking. So again, tense. So tense, and this is more of like subject verb agreement. So just looking at the answer choices, you're able to determine, have a really solid idea of what you think the answer choice or the answer is going to be, or what the question is going to be asking about. Um, does that make sense? Like with writing questions, grammar questions, it's usually a lot easier to see that. You usually don't have to read the whole passage itself. You really just the sentence that the question is asking about. And yeah, you can usually tell what the question is trying to test you on just by looking at the answer choices itself. Okay. So if that makes sense, yeah, let me know. Just by putting a thumbs up in the chat. Okay, cool. Yes, you had a question? At least someone had a question. Was Shivaraj, did you have a question or no? Oh, okay. That's cool. All right. Awesome. So yeah, question type 4, this kind of ties in with our initial question type with the logical word choice, and that's logical transition questions. All right. Now, what are these questions like? Well, they're really just testing you on your ability to see, okay, what are the flow of ideas? All right. And what is the proper transition to use between, uh, it's usually like 2 or 3 sentences. So really just to see, okay, what is the proper transition here between these ideas? And I really want you to implement this strategy for transition questions. And that is, okay, identify whether or not we have a continuing transition or a contrasting transition. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, see, okay, look at the passage here. The company has been stressing the importance of community service. Some of the employees, therefore, have been slow to catch on. Um, yeah, so if you look at this, so we see that the company has been stressing the importance of community service. Um, some of the employees, blank, I mean, they just said therefore, but have been slow to catch on. So are these continuing ideas or are these contrasting ideas? If we have the company, trying to stress the importance of community service, and then later on, we're trying to no, basically see these employees that they're really slow to catch on. So are these continuing or contrasting ideas? And just feel free to just put in the chat continuing or contrast. Yeah, they're contrasting ideas. So that's awesome because look, and the answer choice is well, we really only have one contrasting transition. It's however. You see, if we had a continuing transition, that would be a little bit tricky because then we will have to basically see, okay, I like to group all these into continuing ideas. So examples, continuations, summarizing. You also have the chronological, so first, second, third, fourth. Those are also considered transitions. Um, so yeah, really just identifying in the passage. Do we have continuing ideas, contrasting ideas, and whether or not a continuing or contrast transition will be needed? All right. Does that all make sense with logical transition? That's another type of question you'll also see on the SAT reading and writing. And feel free to, yeah, let's put some thumbs up in the chat. And then we can move on over to our last question type. So yeah, let's get a couple more thumbs up here. And then we can move on to our last question type. All right, awesome, awesome. All right, cool. So it looks like everyone's ready. And this is our last question type. So you'll, by the way, in the SAT reading and writing, there's going to be 2 modules in the actual test. With each module having 27 questions. So you'll usually see these types of questions at the end of the module. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. So usually you have some like bullet point list of notes. Okay, and then really the question is where where it's stated here. The students or the student wants to blank, wants to prove a certain claim. Or, I could provide an example that I've seen on past practice exams. Like the student wants to generalize, the Jurassic period, something along those lines. It could be anything. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? So 99% of the time, that's usually what the question is going to say. Which one either supports the goal, accomplishes it, or weakens it, something along those lines. So those 3 dots here that I mentioned, what the students wanting to accomplish, that's the question, okay? And if you've with the bullet point notes, okay, and like during my sessions, we'll actually go over like actual like practice problems, but there's usually a bullet point list of notes, and surprisingly, you actually don't even have to look at the notes to answer these types of questions. So that makes these questions a whole lot easier. You really want to understand, identify what exactly the question is asking, okay, and seeing what answer choice best, you know, answers what the question is asking. Okay, so yeah, again, we need to look at exactly what they want us to find, and then match our answer choice with what they wanted, essentially. Okay. Yeah. So let's go over a quick example here. I also have an English overview, but this is really just going over a lot of the writing. I feel like the website that I shared, the Critical Reader, it does a really good job summarizing pretty much all of this. Um, so I don't necessarily have to go over this English overview. Um, but yes. So for this example here, for the this type of question, so the research questions and the student notes. Um, it says the student wants to present the finding of the study and interpret the results. Okay, so what are the two things that we need to see in our answer choice? Uh, you feel free to put your answers in the chat. Let me see what you guys think. What are the two things we need to see in our answer choices if we want to see that the student wants to present the finding of the study and interpret the results? There's two things that we need to look for. Okay, so present, interpret. Yeah, present and interpret what exactly though? So you're on the right track. Yes. So the two things that we need to talk about in our answer choices in order for it to be right is the study, right? And the findings. That needs to be mentioned. If we don't have anything about study or anything about the findings, right, then that can't be our answer. Or, we can only have one. So if we only have the results, well, that's not enough. So remember to be literal and specific, okay, with our answers. All right. If it's mentioned specifically, and answers a question, has all the elements that we need, that has to be the answer choice. All right. And those are all the question types that you'll see. So, we have, the evidence-based questions here, logical transition questions, standard English or your grammar type questions, main idea, function questions. These are usually, a little bit more time consuming. And then lastly, we have our logical word choice questions. And remember, with these questions, you want to make a prediction first before going into the answer choices. All right. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much all the question types that you'll typically see on the ST reading and writing. Feel free to put any other questions or comments, concerns in the chat that you guys have. And also feel free to speak up about your thoughts on these strategies. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so while you guys are, yeah, while you guys are about to leave, let me also share this real quick. I think this will, if you guys are, interested, I am also going to be having a session tomorrow, same time, where I'll be doing the same thing, but this time with the math questions. So that is something also you guys, should be on the lookout for. Um, so yes, let me pull up this right here. Yes, no problem, no problem. You guys have any other questions, feel free. Yeah. And yeah, I'll just share this if you guys are, interested in, viewing my profile and, wanting to do more sessions with me. If you thought this was really helpful, um, uh, yeah, I'm definitely open. I'm always an email away, message away. If you guys are interested in, doing more SAT prep. Yeah, awesome job. Yeah, so good question. So he's basically asking like, how to address very confusing and long paragraphs. Now, strategies that I would like to implement for these types of questions is um let me actually go over I could actually show you a very long or actually like a practice problem. But usually, yeah, usually the way I would go about very confusing or long paragraphs is I would like the students, and this is a digital SAT, I would like the students to, break up the passage bit by bit. Okay. And really try to dumb it down yourself. Okay, what exactly did I just read? Okay, write a few words, draw a picture out. You're given scratch paper, so you could, draw that out. There's also a digital annotation tool, so you could also, highlight and, really try to see, the important details based off what you read. And that's I've dealt with students with dyslexia, ADHD, and I definitely understand some of the very long and confusing uh, passages. Those typically do get students that aren't really the strongest with reading. Um, so I really feel like it's really good to break up the passage bit by bit, then come up with a prediction, right? Implement that strategy where we try to basically envision, have that active reading be involved, visualization, okay, and once you get to the answer choices, when you choose an answer, see, okay, does this make sense? And if that makes sense and goes along with your prediction, then that has to be your answer choice. Does that make sense, David? All right, awesome. All right, cool. Any other questions in the chat? Feel free to address them. But yeah, I believe we just reached the hour. Yeah, feel free to tune in tomorrow where I'll be doing my SAT math session where I'll be breaking down, the fundamentals needed to learn the SAT math section and the best way to tackle that section. All right. So yeah, with that, feel free to get the, scan the QR code, have that for your reference, and yeah. All right, cool, awesome, yeah, and thank you guys for coming out. Yeah, no problem.